Learning objectives. In this chapter, the user would learn the following in detail: oral communication techniques, speaking in public, negotiating skills, facilitator and participant skills in meetings, proper business writing, email etiquettes, reading and comprehension skills. Email etiquettes. Email etiquette refers to the principles of behavior that one should use when writing or answering email messages. Because email is less personal than a phone or in-person conversation, but quicker to send than a letter, it is possible for serious breaches of manners to take place. The rules below comprise an overview of the most common principles of email behavior. Include a clear, direct subject line. Examples of a good subject line include meeting date changed, quick question about your presentation, or suggestions for the proposal. People often decide whether to open an email based on the subject line, says Baxter. Choose one that lets readers know you are addressing your concerns or business issues. Use a professional email address. If you work for a company, you should use your company email address. But if you use a personal email account, whether you are self-employed or just like using it occasionally for work-related correspondences, you should be careful when choosing that address, says Baxter. Always have an email address that conveys your name so that the recipient knows exactly who's sending the email. Never use email addresses, perhaps remnants of your grade school days, that are not appropriate for use in the workplace, such as baby girl or be a lover, no matter how much you love a cold brew. Think twice before hitting reply all. No one wants to read emails from 20 people when it has nothing to do with them. They could just ignore the emails, but many people get notifications of new messages on their smartphones or distracting pop-up messages on their computer screens. Refrain from hitting reply all unless you really think everyone on the list needs to receive the email. Use professional salutations. Don't use laid-back colloquial expressions like "Hey you guys," "Yo," or "Hi folks." The relaxed nature of our writings should not affect the salutation in an email. She says, "Hey" is a very informal salutation and generally it should not be used in the workplace. And "Yo" is not okay either. Use "Hi" or "Hello" instead. Use exclamation points sparingly. If you choose to use an exclamation point, use only one to convey excitement. People sometimes get carried away and put a number of exclamation points at the end of their sentences. The result can appear too emotional or immature. Know that people from different cultures speak and write differently. Miscommunication can easily occur due to cultural differences, especially in the writing form when we can't see each other's body language. Tailor your message depending on the receiver's cultural background or how well you know them. Reply to your emails, even if the email wasn't intended for you. It's difficult to reply to every email message ever sent to you, but you should try to. This includes when the email was accidentally sent to you, especially if the sender is expecting a reply. A reply isn't necessary, but serves as good email etiquette, especially if this person works in the same company or industry as you. Here's an example reply. "I know you're very busy, but I don't think you meant to send this email to me. To let you know so you can send it to the correct person." Facilitator. The definition of facilitate is to make easy or ease a process. What a facilitator does is plan, guide, and manage a group event to ensure that the group's objectives are met effectively with clear thinking, good participation, and full buy-in from everyone who is involved. To facilitate effectively, you must be objective. This doesn't mean you have to come from outside the organization or team, though It simply means that for the purposes of this group process, you will take a neutral stance. You step back from the detailed content and from your own personal views and focus purely on the group process. The group process is the approach used to manage discussions, get the best from all members, and bring the event through to a successful conclusion. How you design this depends on many factors, and we'll explore this in a little more detail later in the article. The secret of great facilitation is a group process that flows, and with it will flow the group's ideas, solutions, and decisions too. Your key responsibility as a facilitator is to create this group process and an environment in which it can flourish and so help the group reach a successful decision, solution, or conclusion. What does a facilitator do? To facilitate an event well, you must first understand the group's desired outcome and the background and context of the meeting or event. The bulk of your responsibility is then to design and plan the group process and select the tools that best help the group progress towards that outcome. Guide and control the group process to ensure that there is effective participation, participants achieve a mutual understanding, their contributions are considered and included in the ideas, solutions, or decisions that emerge, participants take shared responsibility for the outcome, ensure that outcomes, actions, and questions are properly recorded and actioned, and appropriately dealt with afterwards. Responsibilities of a facilitator: helping the group clarify its goals or desired outcomes, helping group members use the same tool at the same time on the same problem to accomplish its goals or outcomes. Sometimes this involvement means helping the group change directions and redefine its goals and desired outcomes. Skills: 1. Capturing information in people's own words. Doesn't matter how the capture is done, the key is using people's own words. Avoid listening to someone and then responding with, "I think what you mean to say is," or "I'll summarize what you said as," and use your own interpretation. Honor people's own words. 2. Encouraging participation. This is a huge topic. My approach is to find, develop, and use approaches that encourage people to participate and to speak their mind. This actually does not include presentations, whole group discussions, panels, or Q&A sessions, all of which discourage participation in favor of just a few people. If you can't avoid whole group discussions, then at least avoid pointing to someone and asking them directly what they think. And encourage paired small group discussions, walking and talking through objectives, pictures, and so on. 3. Be comfortable with silence. People might be thinking, so stop talking. Stop filling the silences with more talk. 4. Give instruction clearly and briefly. Over-instruction can kill enthusiasm, raise anxiety about the activity, and encourage thinking about the activity rather than doing it. I like to write up instructions in advance. Keep them short and to the point. Give the instructions, then get people to work. You can wander around and clarify any questions once they get started rather than over-instruct. 5. Avoid dependence. The group can work without you, and it should be your goal to ensure them to operate without a facilitator. This is particularly true if you have an ongoing role with groups. I always try and encourage participants to learn the techniques I use so as they don't need me at all. 6. Avoid leading the group or the discussion. Facilitators have opinions. We have ideas. But it's not our place to lead the group down any particular path. Keep questions open and broad. 7. Set the context for the meeting. Let people know at the beginning why they are there, what they will be doing, why it's important, and when will it be finished. Honor all that. 8. Create a welcoming space. The space people work in matters. Move the furniture. Create a welcoming space. Make sure people are comfortable and able to move around. A welcoming space is not just physical, it's also about the way you engage with the group, building rapport and trust. 9. Take care of time and space. Be aware of the time. Make sure you finish on time. Adjust as necessary to do this. Be aware of people's energy levels and vary the pace. Sometimes it's important to speed up. Sometimes it's important to slow down. 10. Self-care. Take care of yourself. It's hard work facilitating. It's tiring and takes a lot of effort to hold a group of people as they explore issues or struggle with ideas or decisions. Be self-aware enough to know when you need a break or what helps in your own self-care. Negotiation. Negotiation skills. Negotiation is a method by which people settle differences. It is a process by which compromise or agreements is reached while avoiding argument and dispute. In any disagreement, individuals understandably aim to achieve the best possible outcome for their position or perhaps an organization they represent. However, the principles of fairness, seeking mutual benefit and maintaining a relationship are the keys to a successful outcome. Specific forms of negotiation are used in many situations: international affairs, the legal system, government, industrial disputes or domestic relationships as examples. However, general negotiation skills can be learned and applied in a wide range of activities. Negotiation skills can be of great benefit in resolving any differences that arise between you and others. Why negotiate? It is inevitable that from time to time conflict and disagreement will arise as the differing needs, wants, aims and beliefs of people are brought together. Without negotiation, such conflicts may lead to argument and resentment, resulting in one or all of the parties feeling dissatisfied. The point of negotiation is to try to reach agreements without causing future barriers to communications. Stages of negotiation. In order to achieve a desirable outcome, it may be useful to follow a structured approach to negotiation. For example, in a work situation, a meeting may need to be arranged in which all parties involved can come together. 4 stages of negotiation: preparation, exchanging information, bargaining, closing, and commitment. The process of negotiation includes the following stages: preparation, discussion, clarification of goals, negotiate towards a win-win outcome, agreement, implementation of a course of action. Preparation. Before any negotiation takes place, a decision needs to be taken as to when and where a meeting will take place to discuss the problem and who will attend. Setting a limited timescale can also be helpful to prevent the disagreement continuing. This stage involves ensuring all the pertinent facts of the situation are known in order to clarify your own position. In the work example above, this would include knowing the rules of your organization, to whom help is given, when help is not felt appropriate, and the grounds for such refusals. Your organization may well have policies to which you can refer in preparation for the negotiation. Undertaking preparation before discussing the disagreement will help to avoid further conflict and unnecessarily wasting time during the meeting. Discussion. During this stage, individuals or members of each side put forward the case as they see it, that is, their understanding of the situation. Key skills during this stage include questioning, listening, and clarifying. Sometimes it is helpful to take notes during the discussion stage to record all points put forward in case there is need for further clarification. It is extremely important to listen, as when disagreement takes place, it is easy to make the mistake of saying too much and listening too little. Each side should have an equal opportunity to present their case. Clarifying goals. From the discussion, the goals, interests and viewpoints of both sides of the disagreement need to be clarified. It is helpful to list these factors in order of priority. Through this clarification, it is often possible to identify or establish some common ground. Clarification is an essential part of the negotiation process. Without it, misunderstandings are likely to occur, which may cause problems and barriers to reaching a beneficial outcome. Negotiate towards a win-win outcome. This stage focuses on what is termed a win-win outcome, where both sides feel they have gained something positive through the process of negotiation and both sides feel their point of view has been taken into consideration. A win-win outcome is usually the best result. Although this may not always be possible through negotiation, it should be the ultimate goal. Suggestions of alternative strategies and compromises need to be considered at this point. Compromises are often positive alternatives which can often achieve greater benefit for all concerned compared to holding to the original position. Agreement. Agreement can be achieved once understanding of both sides, viewpoints and interests have been considered. It is essential for everybody involved to keep an open mind in order to achieve an acceptable solution. Any agreement needs to be made perfectly clear so that both sides know what has been decided. Implementing a course of action. From the agreement, a course of action has to be implemented to carry through the decision. Failure to agree. If the process of negotiation breaks down, an agreement cannot be reached, then rescheduling a further meeting is called for. This avoids all parties becoming embroiled in heated discussion or argument, which not only waste time but can also damage future relationships. At the subsequent meeting, the stages of negotiation should be repeated. Any new ideas or interests should be taken into account and the situation looked at afresh. At this stage, it may also be helpful to look at other alternative solutions and or bring in another person to mediate. Informal negotiation. There are times when there is a need to negotiate more informally. At such times, when a difference of opinion arises, it may not be possible or appropriate to go through the stages set out in a formal manner. Good negotiators are flexible, creative, aware of themselves and others, good planners, honest, win-win oriented, good communicators. Oral communication. Oral communication is a combination of verbal and non-verbal messages. This unit gives a brief overview of some of the oral communication techniques. We would also learn on how to speak in public and how to be a better participant in meetings. This unit also gives an insight on professional business writing, email etiquettes and reading comprehension skills that are a mandate in today's organizations. Oral communication is the process of verbally transmitting information and ideas from one individual or group to another. Oral communication can be either formal or informal. Examples of informal oral communication include face-to-face conversations, telephone conversations, discussions that take place at business meetings. Formal types of oral communication include presentations at business meetings, classroom lectures, commencement speech given at a graduation ceremony. With advances in technology, new forms of oral communication to develop. Video phones and video conferences combine audio and video so that workers in distant locations can both see and speak with each other. Other modern forms of oral communication include podcasts, audio clips that you can access on the internet, and voice over internet protocol, which allows callers to communicate over the internet and avoid telephone charges. Skype is an example of VoIP. Advantages. There are many situations in which it makes sense to choose oral over written communication. Oral communication is more personal and less formal than written communication. If time is limited and a business matter requires quick resolution, it may be best to have a face-to-face or telephone conversation. There is also more flexibility in oral communication. You can discuss different aspects of an issue and make decisions more quickly than you can in writing. Oral communication can be especially effective in addressing conflicts or problems. Talking things over is often the best way to settle disagreements or misunderstandings. Finally, oral communication is a great way to promote employee morale and maintain energy and enthusiasm within a team. Disadvantages. Despite the many benefits of oral communication, there are times when written communication is more effective. For example, you may want to exchange important information that needs to be documented using written communication. A lot of transactions in the business world require some type of written record, and you will find that even strong verbal skills are not a substitute for putting things in writing. Additionally, oral communication tends to be less detailed and more subject to misunderstanding than written communication. It's best to always think carefully about which method of communication best fits your objective. The traits individuals identify as the most important in creating their personal brands. Oral communication technique. 1. Be friendly. People who communicate with a friendly tone and warm smile almost always have the edge. The reason is simple. We are subconsciously drawn to people who are friendly because they make us feel good and bring more enjoyment to our lives. 2. Think before you speak. One of my favorite English proverbs is, better to remain silent and be thought of a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I find that many people say whatever goes through their minds without putting any thought into what they are saying. As a result, they say things that end up reflecting poorly on themselves. 3. Be clear. Most of us don't have the time, nor do we want to spend our emotional energy to figure out what someone else is trying to say. People who are indirect in their verbal communication and who tend to hint at things without saying what's really on their mind are seldom respected. When there is something to say, ask yourself, what is the clearest way I can communicate this point? 4. Don't talk too much. Last week I met with a personal chef. At first I was impressed with him and considered hiring for an upcoming event. However, the more he talked, the less impressed I became. Very few people like to be around someone who talks too much and dominates the conversation. 5. Be your authentic self. Today, more than any time during my lifetime, people are turned off by those people who feel the need to put on a show to make their point. Instead, People are attracted to someone who speaks from the heart and is genuine, transparent, and real. 6. Practice humility. Humility is having a modest view of one's own importance. It is one of the most attractive personality traits one can possess and is one of the most significant predictors of someone who is respected. People who speak with humility and genuine respect for others are almost always held in high regard. 7. Speak with confidence. You don't have to sacrifice self-confidence to practice humility. Confidence is a self-assurance arising from an appreciation of one's true abilities, whereas humility is having a modest opinion of one's own importance. Speaking with confidence includes the words you choose, the tone of your voice, the eye contact, and body language. 8. Focus on your body language. When you are engaged in face-to-face verbal communication, your body language can play as significant of a role in the message you communicate as the words you speak. Your body language communicates respect and interest. It puts real meaning behind your words. 9. Be concise. Very few things are more irritating to me than when someone can't get to the point of what he or she is trying to say. Plan ahead. Constantly ask yourself, how can I say what needs to be said using the fewest number of words possible while still being courteous and respectful? 10. Learn the art of listening. Being an attentive listener is more important in verbal communication than any words that can come out of your mouth. You must show a sincere interest in what is being said. Ask good questions, listen for the message within the message, and avoid interrupting. Participant skills. Come prepared. If there is an agenda, review it. If you need to bring materials, bring them. If the agenda suggests certain topics, think about them before you arrive. If there isn't an agenda, a quick message or conversation with the leader, facilitator, might help you be ahead of the game before the meeting begins. Think before you speak. Admittedly, this is easier for some people than others, based on the communication style. What I am talking about here is less about style and more about substance. Thinking before you speak means that when you open your mouth, you have a point. Know what it is, make it, and then shut up. One of the behaviors people hate most in meetings are people who dominate and talk too much. Don't be that person. Be willing to speak. This too is easier for some people than others. If your tendency is to sit back and just observe, be willing to share your point of view and ideas. People won't know where you stand unless you tell them. Listen. Open your ears and your mind. Remain mentally engaged. Hey, you could even take notes. You will likely learn something. And when you do speak, your points will be more effective and relevant. Ask questions of others. As you listen, you may help the group and other participants by asking follow-up or clarifying questions. Often, no one takes this role, and when someone does, it will speed up the flow and results of a conversation or meeting. Facilitate. If your meetings has a skilled facilitator, this might not be required. In my experience, however, this often isn't the case. Be the person that asks the group what is missing. Be the person that invites people that haven't spoken to engage. Be the person who thinks about the process, not just the task of the meeting. Do it carefully and for the group's benefit, not to look important or impressive. The goal is to help the group be more successful. Put your phone away. Be the person who is truly engaged in the meeting. If you are doing the other 6 things on the list, you won't have time or interest in checking your phone anyway. And if you truly think you can multitask, you are wrong. There is a theme here. It is called personal accountability. Professional writing. Professional writing is writing for reward or as a profession, or writing to a standard and style demanded by a particular profession. It involves the use of clear language to convey information in a way that is easily understood by the intended audience and may be focused on information, persuasion, or to stimulate debate. A professional writer may be freelance or employed in an occupation where a professional writing standard is a prerequisite, such as journalism, marketing, advertising, public relations, the military, or technical writing. While not necessarily the practitioner's primary profession, professional writing skills are essential in many other fields such as law, medicine, business, engineering, and social work. Uses. Communication. There is, particularly in business, a need for concise and ambiguous communication with colleagues, suppliers, clients, and the general public. Professional writing forestalls inattentiveness and criticism. Persuasion. Persuasive professional writing is connected to the concept of rhetoric, which focuses on informing or persuading and relies upon stimulating the interest of the audience through creating authoritative arguments. Information. Clear and concise professional writing is vital in many fields where misunderstanding could have serious consequences, such as in law, engineering, technical manuals, and product labels. Entertainment. Professional writing includes non-fiction or fiction for entertainment, which may be in the form of essays, short stories, books, plays, or screenplays across the whole range of writing genres. 8 tips to effective writing. 1. Know why you are writing. Be clear about your objectives, including the audience you are addressing and the goal you want to achieve. State the goal convincingly in each sentence of your prose. Example, your firm wants to break its lease in an office building that violates the Americans with Disabilities Act by failing to install wheelchair ramps and automatic doors, but you want to stay on good terms with the landlord. 2. Understand your readers. Know that no one has time to waste. Get to the point quickly. Focus on what's relevant and use a tone that fits your audience. Imagine you're writing to someone who is smart but not a specialist in your field. When Warren Buffett pens his annual report, he pretends he's writing it for his sisters who are smart but not experts in finance. To succeed, I don't need to be Shakespeare. I must, though, have a sincere desire to inform. 3. Write your first draft quickly. Writing preparation can involve 4 different processes he calls madman, architect, carpenter, and judge. The madman does the research, the architect organizes the material, the carpenter writes the first draft, and the judge edits and tightens. When it comes to the writing stage, it's best to barrel through a draft without waiting for inspiration or perfecting as you go. If you are stumped by a section, skip it and finish the next part or the whole piece before circling back. 4. Revise and edit. Have I told the truth? Have I said all that I need to say? Have I been fair and diplomatic? Do I have a clear, concise opening? Have I proved my points with specifics? Have I avoided lame repetition? Do I close my piece clearly with prose that sounds fresh? As for editing, he says writers should ask themselves whether it's possible to save words, hone phrasing, make the piece more interesting, and make the sentences flow. 5. Be relentlessly clear. All good writing instruction repeats this refrain: show, don't tell. In other words, illustrate your points with specifics. Example, you want to say someone in your company is a bad boss. Rather than making that general statement, say something like, he got a promotion based on his assistant's detailed reports, but then, despite the company's record profits, denied that assistant even routine cost of living raises. 6. Don't waste words. Delete prepositions, especially of. For example, change April of 2013 to April 2013. Replace words ending in ion with verbs. Change provided protection to protected. Get rid of filler like in terms of. 7. Never use business speak. Stay away from trite expressions like mission critical, hit the ground running, and think outside the box, and words like leverage and impact. Sometimes it can be useful to be trite, but only if you do it thoughtfully, aware that the expression is overused and you're choosing it for that reason. The most important lesson here, be direct and thoughtful. 8. Relax and find the right tone. Avoid stuffiness by using contractions. Vary the length and structure of your sentences so the reader doesn't think your piece was written by a robot. Do use courtesies like thank you and we appreciate, and the personal pronouns instead of formal language like the dissident. Also lose the sarcasm. Do write as though you're talking to the person face to face. Public speaking skills. Public speaking, sometimes termed oratory or oration, is the process of performing a presentation or speech focused around a single person directly speaking to a live audience in a structured, deliberate manner in order to inform, influence, or entertain them. Public speaking is commonly understood as the formal, face-to-face talking of a single person to a group of listeners. It is closely allied to presenting, although the latter is more often associated with commercial activity. Most of the time, public speaking is to persuade the audience. Top 10 public speaking skills. 1. Preparation is key. Spend time putting your speech together so that it flows logically and is made more vibrant, with stories, examples, and props, such as images. For inspiration, try watching other great yet relatable speakers on video. You may even want to read the transcripts to see how they crafted their speeches. When it's all done, practice saying your speech out loud until you can give it over fluidly and comfortably. 2. Accentuate the positive. Get in touch with your strengths and weaknesses as a public speaker. Don't try to change yourself or be something you are not. Focus on what you do best, whether you have a great sense of humor or you're a good storyteller or you know how clearly break down and explain complex ideas. 3. Invest in your audience. Think about what your audience wants to hear. What problem do you have to solve? What hopes do they have? Give them what they want and need. Your audience needs to have a reason to listen. In your opening remarks, strive to relate to them and focus on relaying not just your message, but the reasons why they need and should want to know about it. 4. Get in touch with your on-stage persona. No matter how you slice it, public speaking is a performance. Even if acting is not something that comes naturally to you, you should try to get in touch with your on-stage persona. In the process, you may discover a more extroverted part of yourself that you didn't know was there, and the whole experience can end up feeling liberating and exhilarating instead of anxiety-ridden. 5. Get comfortable with the environment. Check out the location where you will be speaking before the event happens. It will help you to feel more comfortable and secure when the big day arrives. Another suggestion would be to plant a few supportive friends or family members in the audience who can throw you on encouraging look or two as you are presenting. Just realize that you may get so caught up in the speech that you may not actually see them. Still, it could be a comfort to have them there. 6. Pay attention to your appearance. Be sure not to overlook a key confidence booster on the day of your speech, your attire. Think about how great you feel when you are groomed and crisp in your favorite tailored outfit. When you look great, you feel great. On the other hand, if casual dress is allowed, maybe that will make you feel more comfortable and engaging. Audiences will initially judge you based solely on your appearance, so make an effort to dress in a way that conveys the messages you want to. 7. Start with a smile. Research has shown that the act of smiling, even artificially, can actually make a person feel more happy and at ease. So, put a big smile on your face when you begin speaking. Many people in the audience will probably smile back at you too. This will make you feel relaxed, confident, and connected. 8. Start off with a story. A story is a great way to get your speech going. Not only does it have the potential to pique initial interest, but it can also help set your audience in time, place, and mood. Emotions are the touchstones to speech success, so tug on a string of feelings to get your audience invested early on. Also, wrapping up your speech with an afterthought on your opening story is a nice way to bring the experience around full circle while providing a satisfying close for your audience. 9. Let others do the talking. Keep the communicative theme going and consider asking questions directly to your audience. Not only will asking questions to the crowd get you some active participants, but it will help ease any nerves you have by sharing the spotlight. If time allows for it, consider preparing a role-play scenario that through audience participation could exemplify one of your points in real time. 10. Schedule some downtime. Public speaking can be a serious energy drain, especially if you are an introvert. So one of the most important public speaking tips for introverts is to make sure you've got some alone time scheduled both before and after an event that will allow you to recharge and process the experience. Reading and comprehension skills. Proofread every message. Your mistakes won't go unnoticed by the recipients of your email, and depending upon the recipient, you may be judged for making them. Don't rely on spell checkers. Read and reread your email a few times, preferably aloud, before sending it off. One supervisor intended to write, "Sorry for the inconvenience," but he relied on his spell check and ended up writing, "Sorry for the incontinence." Reading comprehension is the ability to read text, process it, and understand its meaning. An individual's ability to comprehend text is influenced by their traits and skills, one of which is the ability to make inferences. If word recognition is difficult, students use too much of their processing capacity to read individual words, which interferes with their ability to comprehend what is read. There are a number of approaches to improve reading comprehension, including improving one's vocabulary and reading strategies. To improve your reading skills, you need to have clear reading goals, choose the right text, use the right reading style, use note-taking techniques. Reading goals. Clear reading goals can significantly increase your reading efficiency. Not everything in print will be of use to you. Use reading goals to select and prioritize information according to the task in hand. Reading goals can be an essay or seminar subject, a report brief, a selected subject area, a series of questions about a specific topic. Use your reading goals to help you identify the information that is relevant to your current task. Choosing a text. You will need to access the text to see if it contains information that is relevant to your reading goals. Check the date of publication. Is the information up to date? Read the publisher's blurb at the back or inside sleeve for an overview of the content. Check the contents page for relevant chapters. Look up references for your topic in the index. If the text does not seem relevant, discard it. Once you have selected a text, you can use the following techniques of scanning and skimming to help you identify areas for detailed reading. Scanning. Scanning is a technique you might use when reading a telephone directory. You pass your vision speedily over a section of text in order to find particular words or phrases that are relevant to your current task. You can scan the introduction or preface of a text, the first or last paragraphs of chapters, the concluding or summarizing chapter of a text, the book index. Skimming. Skimming is a process of speedy reading for general meaning. Let your eyes skip over sentences or phrases which contain detail. Concentrate on identifying the center or main points. Use this technique to preview a selection of text prior to detailed reading. Refresh your understanding of a selection of text following detailed reading. Detailed reading and note-taking. Once you have selected useful information, you can begin to read in detail. Note-taking techniques provide a useful aid to reading. Use underlining and highlighting to pick out what seem to you the most central or important words and phrases. Do this in your own copy of text or on photocopies, never on borrowed text. Keywords. To record the main headings as you read, use 1 or 2 keywords for each main point. Keywords can be used when you don't want to mark the text. Questions to encourage you to take an active approach to your reading. Record your questions as you read. They can also be used as prompts for follow-up work. Summaries to check you have understood what you have read. Pause after a section of text and put what you have read in your own words. Skim over the text to check the accuracy of your summary, filling in any significant gaps. Comprehension is evident when readers can interpret and evaluate events, dialogue, ideas and information, connect information to what they already know, adjust current knowledge to include new ideas or look at those ideas in a different way, determine and remember the most important points in the reading, read between the lines to understand underlying meanings. Types of comprehension strategies. There are 6 main types of comprehension strategies. Make connections. Readers connect the topic or information to what they already know about themselves, about other texts, and about the world. Ask questions. Readers ask themselves questions about the text, their reactions to it, and the author's purpose for writing it. Visualize. Readers make the printed word real and concrete by reading a movie of the text in their minds. Determine text importance. Readers A. Distinguish between what's essential versus what's interesting. B. Distinguish between fact and opinion. C. Determine cause and effect relationships. D. Compare and contrast ideas or information. E. Discern themes, opinions or perspectives. F. Pinpoint problems and solutions. G. Name steps in a process. H. Locate information that answers specific questions. Or I. Summarize. Make inferences. Readers merge text clues with their prior knowledge and determine answers to questions that lead to conclusions about underlying themes or ideas. Synthesize. Readers combine new information with existing knowledge to form original ideas, new lines of thinking, or new creations. Conclusion. In this chapter, we have covered the following in detail: oral communication techniques, speaking in public, negotiating skills, facilitator and participant skills in meetings, proper business writing, email etiquettes, reading and comprehension skills.